legends, and I am fuming. I'll tell you what, Robert Whittaker was robbed. Viciously and brutally robbed once again. We, the Australians, flew all the way out to the Middle East, and once again we have been absolutely and diabolically ruined by the judges and their lack of ability to read the scoring criteria of MMA. Round 1 was Robert Whittaker, round 3 was Robert Whittaker, and round 5 was very clearly Robert Whittaker. You can't just hold someone up against the cage and win a fight that way. Robbie was jabbing the bleeding nose off him, mate. Robbie was jabbing him up. Easily a Robert Whittaker win. Easily. Right, Roo? Right? Right, Roo? It was a close fight. It was a very close fight. Maybe Robert didn't do enough in the 5th round. Maybe RDR landed a lot of knees up the center in the 5th and did a lot of good work and even jabbed him up and not only had the control time but had the... It was a very close fight. It was a very close... Listen, RDR... pretty clearly one of my scorecards. I'm not gonna keep on this bit. RDR pretty clearly one of my scorecards, but it was close. It was a close fight. I do believe Rob looked good, but this is the problem, right? Rob looking good just isn't enough anymore, especially with all the wars that he's been through. Remember, Robert Whittaker has been in the UFC since... I think Robert Whittaker was waiting out the front of the UFC before UFC 1. Robert Whittaker's been in the UFC forever and a day. All the wars with Yoel Romero and that second war with Izzy, and he's been through it with Paulo Costa, and the DDP fight wasn't an easy fight, and then Hamzat Chimaev's ripped his jaw off. It's not easy being a Robert Whittaker fan, man. It's not easy being a Robert Whittaker fan, but I think he's lost that edge. Because you know what I was seeing here during this fight? Where was the head movement, Robbie? Like, RDR striking is not good. It's not good, right? Striking doesn't need to be good in MMA. It needs to be effective in MMA. You need to land in MMA. And Robert Whittaker just does that thing, obviously, where he's putting his head out there because he wants you to swing for his head. He wants you to jab at his head, and then he wants to move it out of the way and catch you with a counter. That's Robert Whittaker's game. Especially if you've been watching the new season of Tough this season, Robert Whittaker talks about it explicitly, how he wants you to hit him. But he wants to move out of the way and then counter you. But he wasn't moving out of the way. And there were so many times during this fight, I'm watching it and I'm saying to myself and even to the live chat, Robbie, where is the head movement? We need to be staying elusive. What's going on here? And I think he has lost that spring in his step. I think he has lost that little bit of young man, go get him. He just doesn't have it anymore. And then at this stage in his life, with where Robert Whittaker is when he has his podcast and he's got his career set up after MMA and he's already started talking about the end of the line and he's only got so many fights left, I don't know where Whittaker is right now in here. I'm telling you, man, a fighter starting a podcast is the death nail. That is the beginning of the what am I going to do after my fighting career run. I know Usman just did well, but the what's the saying? The one-off proves the rule. Whatever. The outlier sort of proves the rule because, oh look, there's an outlier that we can point to, but everyone else falls in this bucket. There's a saying for it. I can't remember it right now, but you know what I'm saying. Doesn't matter. Don't worry about it, Doug. Keep filming. Keep moving on past it. The point is, fighters starting a podcast, no bueno. No bueno. You are not allowed to start a fucking podcast until after your career is over. MMA fighters. No podcasting. Lock in. Go to the gym. Lock in. RDR's knees are phenomenal. And I'll tell you why. Because everyone's like, he throws such weird knees, mate. And I'll tell you why. You know when you got a wrestler going against a striker, the wrestler usually looks pretty good against the striker because the striker's always worrying about the takedown coming at them. We know this already. This is normal stuff. Bro, instead of using the hands, RDR uses the knees. He just launches his entire body into it. And because he's so long and gangly, he can generate so much power with that knee up the middle. And also, when fighters are throwing the knees, they're almost worried that they're going to get caught in a clinch and end up on bottom because they're losing their whole center of gravity when you're up and throwing the knee. You've got to land properly in a clinch and then center yourself again, which is why fighters usually throw knees at the end of their combinations when they see that their opponent is a little bit wobbled and all over the place because they know subconsciously, right, I'm going to throw this and land back down. The Riddler doesn't care how he lands after he throws a knee. Why would he? He's the grappler. He wants the fight to go to the ground. So if he throws a knee and something goes wrong, he doesn't mind if the fight goes to the ground. And also, because the striker is worried about this wrestler coming at him, spamming single legs and blasting at him in the hip in the center of the mat, which is something the Riddler does, he's not just feinting the takedown like Magomed Ankalaev is and like Merab is. He is throwing the takedown. He's shooting the takedown often. You are constantly worried about stopping the takedown. And the same thing happens when the striker is in there against the wrestler and the striker is losing the striking battle because they're worried about the takedown. Same thing's happening with Riddler's knees. They're just landing because the striker is not worried about knees coming at him. He's worried about a takedown coming at him. It's great stuff from Riddler. It really is great stuff. And his knees devastate the guts of his opponent. And how good are Robert Whittaker's guts, mate? Because Bo Nickel couldn't even take one of those knees. Well, he could only take one of those knees. But Robert Whittaker was able to get his guts messed up for 25 minutes. The Riddler was just in his guts, relentlessly, non-stop. And Whittaker was able to handle it. No John Jones. But you know what I'm saying. Yeah, it was great. It was good. It was really good for the Riddler. So what do you do with the Riddler next? Does he get a title shot? What about Imavov? What about Israel Adesanya? How long is Strickland going to be suspended for? So many fun conversations to have next. The Riddler does feel like he still needs one more win, doesn't he? And Imavov sleeping Adesanya makes it feel like he deserves the next shot. But how busy is Dricus going to stay? Let's face it, Dricus isn't exactly Merab. He's not exactly Kamaru Usman in his prime. He's not exactly Anderson Silva. Dricus isn't churning through it. Dricus likes to take his time and make sure he's completely healed up. It feels unfair for Imavov to have to do one more, but this might just be the way this... Oh no, Imavov's already tied up against Kyle Barello, isn't he? Mate, we'll make a whole other video discussing all this later. What's next for Robert Whittaker? Does he want to be a gatekeeper? At 35, after all the wars he's been through, his broken hands, his guts were destroyed. He's had the hernia that before the Gastelum fight that popped in his stomach as well. He's had his jaw completely put back together. Real Romero broke his knee and broke his hand. Like, Whittaker has been through it. Do you want to keep going through it, mate? Or do you want to just start podcasting? Now is the time to think to ourselves. There's going to be an Australian Fight Night card later this year, and then there'll be another one early next year. There always is an Australian Fight Night card in February. They love coming to Down Under in February. Is that a co-main event Robert Whittaker retirement? Is it a main event Fight Night card Robert Whittaker retirement? These are the questions that Robbie needs to start having with his family. But overall, well done to Rainier de Riddler. Very well done. And Whittaker, he's lost that edge. Just real quick, what made Whittaker great was his bounciness and his fluidity. And I didn't see that in this fight. I saw his head getting jabbed apart and losing the bounciness and fluidity. And that means that's the end of Robert Whittaker's fight style, which sucks to see. Petr Yan versus Archer from Small Soldiers. Archer from Small Soldiers McGee. Not the most exciting third round, but let's start from the start. First round, all the Petr Yan deniers would have been laughing their bloody asses off. In fact, they were in my chat. They were all hardy, look at Yan getting worked in the first round. And I was like, mate, we're Petr Yan fans. We don't rock up till the second round. We're not here from the early prelims. We're not even here at the start of the fight. We're Petr Yan fans. We rock up at the second round. Yan doesn't start fighting until the second round. I don't know why this dude just wants to consistently give one round away, but it's Petr Yan. It's what he does, mate. He's so bloody good, he'll give you the first round. Every single fight. That's what he did in this fight as well. And then the masterclass of boxing in the second round was just phenomenal. And Archer from Small Soldiers, all he was doing was Cody Garbrandt maxing on the guard of Yan. Because Yan was getting his hands up nice and high, and when he felt the combination finish, ripped to the body. Big overhand over the top. I think the significant strike numbers were like, they showed on the and Yan was down on strikes, but the damage on McGee's face, you could see that Archer from Small Soldiers was getting clipped apart just beautifully. And then the third round was very boring, but this is your fault, MMA. You did this, MMA. Petr Yan didn't make round 3 boring. You made round 3 boring. And why did you make round 3 boring? Because Mario Batista gets the win over Aldo. Because Merab Dvalishvili has become a champion. Because Bilal has become a champion. Because Yan has been robbed so many times. So many times Petr Yan has been robbed. And you, MMA, the general universe of MMA, has taught fighters to just play it safe and get the win. Alexander Volkov versus Cyril Gane. Doesn't matter if we all know Alexander Volkov won that fight. Cyril Gane's getting the title shot because all that matters is what's on paper. So Jan went, fuck that shit, and I am hugging him and kneeing to the upper thigh. That's it. And we, MMA, whatever has gotten us to this point, has gotten us to this point. This is the point that we're at. You want to win a fight, you got to win a fight to win a fight. You got to win it. You got to get that L on tap. That W on Tapology. That is all that matters. And Jan went and did it. Now Jan's going to get a title shot. And Jan should get a title shot. He should. He should. Also, it was announced during this, between the co-main and the main, Movsar Evloev ducked Darren Pico. Ducked him. They could have rebooked that fight. Movsar Evloev ducked him. I hope he gets a title shot against Volkanovski, but he ducked Darren Pico. Right, moving on to Shara Bullet versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Easily the fight of the night. Shara is so good when you are nice and close to him because he's half blind, because he doesn't have distance control. How can he? He is missing an eye. But his elbows and his knees to make up for it are so good, man. They're so good. And he's got dog in him. Not Izzy versions, but not the Israel Adesanya kind of dog in him. Not the dog. But he's got the dog in him. They both had the dog in them. That was a great fight. There were points when Marc-Andre Barriault is just cracking Shara Bullet. Shara Bullet's biting down on his mouthguard and cracking him back. They are going at each other. There's absolute war in there. The clinch battle was awesome. This is why, it's not always, clinching is not always horrible. Deriddler's clinch is amazing. Shara Bullet's clinch is amazing. Petr Yan's clinch in the third round was horrible. But this was a huge L for Canadian MMA. Canadian MMA copped a massive L tonight. You couldn't beat a blind man, Canadian MMA. The fall off. We like to clown Indian MMA on the channel because, they haven't gotten a win in the UFC yet. So we like to poke fun at that. We think it's pretty funny. But they never started. They haven't got a win in the UFC yet. Males. The men's Indian MMA hasn't got a win in the UFC yet. But Canadian MMA. You guys had GSP. Some people still have him as the GOAT. The fall off. Unbelievable. Can't beat a blind man, Canadian MMA. Can't beat a blind man. But Shara did great. Mate, they both did great. They honestly deserve the fight of the night. Shara Bullet did great. Here's my problem with Shara Bullet. I still believe he's going to easily get fraud checked. He is like a circus attraction for the Middle East. And what I mean is, he's got the pirate personality. He's got the one eye thing. Yar, shiver me timbers, right? He's got the pirate thing. And they just fly out bums for him to beat up twice a year whenever we go to Abu Dhabi or whenever we go to Saudi Arabia. But anyone at middleweight kills him. Like any of the higher levels of there's levels to MMA. We know this. Any of the higher levels in MMA just absolutely kill him. Absolutely kill. And again, like to all the people out there that want to say just the modern skill set of MMA is so much further ahead of anybody, that throw out your old GOAT list. Because the modern skill set is just years ahead of it. A blind man has a chance to get ranked in 2025. That's how far ahead the skills of MMA are in 2025, yeah? Pantoja won a belt while still being a taxi driver. Usyk, fourth fight, got a title shot. Akaya Sakura, first fight, got a title shot. A blind man is going to get ranked. Asuya Mabayev versus Ochoa. Who cares? Worst fight. Bogdan Guskov. He's the new Anthony Smith. He's who Anthony Smith wishes he was. Yeah? One shot striking. I feel bad for Nikita Krylov. Is his chin gone? Yes. Which sucks, because Nikita Krylov is a man of war. And a man of war without a chin is like bouncy Robert Whittaker without his speed. You know? Fuck. We're at the end now. This was the thing we were good at. We don't have it anymore. So that is not great for old Krylov. Bryce Mitchell, yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. It must have been warm in that arena. I tell you what, it must have been warm in that arena, because Bryce Mitchell was feeling his big dick energy this time. He didn't have to let anybody know that the showers were cold that day. Oh, no. Bryce Mitchell went on a sermon on the goddamn mount on this one. This was great to see. Round 1, Saeed Nurmagomedov. Yep. Round 2, Bryce. Round 3, close round. I gave it to Bryce on the submission attempts. So I think it was very clearly a Bryce Mitchell fight. I don't think there was any controversy in that. However, I have seen some people claiming that it was a bit of a robbery. I disagree. I don't think the main event was a robbery. I think Derilla did enough in the 5th round to get the win. Close fight, but Derilla did enough. And in round 3, I think Bryce did enough. So, like, I wanted Robbie to win. I wanted Bryce to win. They were both close fights. Unbiased. Bryce won. Robbie lost. It is what it is. Saeed Nurmagomedov. Can we talk about this? He gasses out. Like, in a couple of his fights. I thought that this is how this fight was going to go. Horrible picks all night long. But this one I got spot on. And it's because I thought Saeed was going to gas out a little bit as the fight goes on. Because he does tend to gas. And then someone brought this up in the chat as well. Like with Umar gassing against Merab, even though he broke his hand. And his hand is in his lungs are in his hands. But he clearly gassed out in that fight. Is Khabib overtraining the boys over in Dagestan? Trying to make sure that that high level of success that was going on? Because even in the PFL fight, with the Irish bloke versus the other Nurmagomedov, Paul Hughes versus not Umar, not Usman, not Umanin, one of them, you know the fight. He gassed out as well. So I wonder what is going on. And then Islam didn't look great in the Dustin Poirier fight either. Is Khabib gassing the boys out, trying to keep that gold standard that his father had? Not shit-talking here. Respectfully asking a question here. There's banter in sports, and then I know how Khabib is with his dad and all that. I'm asking a very real question here. Is Khabib trying to live up to Abdulmanap's level, and is he overgassing the team? Fair question to ask. Good on Bryce. Loving him at the new weight class. Originally, I was hesitant. After seeing him there, fair enough. But I always wanted Bryce to put on muscle, not drain himself down. But it looks like Bryce knows what's up. The boys know what they're doing. Muslim Salikov. Unk's run starts now. Muslim Teixeira. That's what we're calling him. He's 4 on the trot in the welterweight division. And it's 41 years old. And it's Glover Teixeira Muslim Salikov rocket fuel time. Gimme Burns before the end of the year. I want Muslim Salikov versus Gilbert Burns. Smash him, put him down. Then I want Muslim Salikov versus Ian Gary after that. Then Bilal Muhammad, then title shot. I want Muslim Salikov fighting for the belt by the end of 2026. Dude, 4 in a row in welterweight. If he was Carlos Prates, he's getting a ranked opponent. Miles Morales is getting a ranked opponent. You know what I'm saying? D-Rod's getting ranked. Muslim Salikov's here. He's 41, Russian, gorgeous Russian man, just one-shotting dead blokes. Give him a ranked opponent. Let's see what happens. Let's light a fire under the Muslim Salikov train. I'm aboard it, mate. I'm aboard it. And Davy Grant, another unk. Another unk. Just worked Blackshear. First round, Blackshear looked good. But Davy Grant just stayed calm, stayed safe, did the basics that you're meant to do. And then in the chat's laughing at me because they're like, obviously he's doing the basics. And I'm like, dude, when do we see people doing the basics? How often do we see fighters screwing up the basics? And then he just outworks him. Just outworks him in the second and the third. And Damon Blackshear is 30 years old. And Davy Grant is 40 fucking years old. And again, modern MMA is at such a high level that you got to take all the old goats and just throw them out. Because you wouldn't believe how good modern MMA is. Every weekend, that gets proven wrong. Stop thinking it. Stop thinking it. There are fighters that have progressed to a great level. Modern MMA is better, but not that much better. We're not there yet. Pump the fucking brakes on the modern MMA take, everybody. Just relax with it. That was it. UFC Abu Dhabi rolled up Whittaker versus... There were more fights, but whatever. Oh, no! There was more fight that I wanted to talk about. There was one more fight that I wanted to talk about. Yahya. Muhammad Yahya. Muhammad Yahya. Wow. Bad. 7 drops. You know, in any other combat sport, usually, like, getting dropped 3 times is the TKO. That's the end of the fight. He got dropped like 7 or 8 times, dude. They showed the count on the screen. It was wrong. They were undercounting it because I was counting it live and pissing myself laughing. I'm sorry, but he's just bad at fighting. Like, it would be... He's like if I went into the cage. It's like a risk to my health to go into a UFC fight. It is a risk to my health. I know that little. I can watch a fight and see a fight and understand what's happening, but there's a difference between understanding the theory of something and the practicality of something, right? Go watch a video on how to do drywalling. You'll fuck it up when you actually try and do it. You know what I'm saying? These, like, obviously there's a difference. And I feel like me and Yaya are about the same skill level, which is obviously not true, but I'm just saying, it's unhealthy for him to be in a UFC octagon. His fucking eye was destroyed. There was a lot of conversations last week about the BMF belt being fake and bullshit and WWE, but people seemed to come around to it and they wanted to keep it. Well, I would like to set a new belt, the DEI belt. Who is hired in the UFC just because of their race, just to fill in a quota? Who is the worst DEI hire in the UFC? You got Muhammad Yahya, who is only there because he's a UAE fighter. Why we stick with him, I don't know. Brave exists. There's like a whole roster of UFC fighters, but we happen to fucking filter out the worst one there is. So, for the DEI belt, Muhammad Yahya versus Anshul Jubli. Now, I know Anshul Jubli is in a higher weight class. We just moved Muhammad Yahya up. At this point, it doesn't matter. Anshul Jubli only exists because he's Indian, and we need to get India a win, apparently. The UFC are dead set on getting India a win. So, one of them's going to have to win. One of them's going to have to lose. Unless it's a real Jimmy Crute double jeopardy draw. If that happens, I will fucking die from laughter. Anshul Jubli, Yahya, catch weight, 150 pounds. For the DEI belt. I can book it. Off we go. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Yahya is just atrocious at MMA. Anyway, that was it. UFC Abu Dhabi. Great card. I really enjoyed it. Out of 10, probably like a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. Like, it wasn't a banger. It wasn't, whoa. But it wasn't the worst card ever. It was just a good old-fashioned, it's a good UFC card. Good, solid UFC Fight Night card. Good. Not great. Not horrible. Killed Robert Whittaker's career. That's made me very sad. But we'll get over that. We'll get over that. We'll be right. We'll be right, won't we, Robbie? There's always Skyrim. There's always the memories. There's always chat telling me that Robert Whittaker might be one of the worst champions to ever win a belt because he only defended it once. Fuck, Robert! Nah, we'll be right. We'll get over this. It's okay. We'll bounce back. Won't we, Root? We'll bounce back. We still got Volk. We still got JDM. Quaylen Sane killed. Cody Haddon. Australian MMA's looking good. Oh god, we're gonna beat Islam Makhachev. JDM's gonna beat Islam Makhachev. So we'll get over the Volk, we'll get over the Whittaker thing. You know, it hurts, but it was a good run, and we appreciate it. So that's that. 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, about a 5.5 out of 10, let's say. If this is your first time here, g'day, welcome. My name is Dougie. I make an MMA video every day of the week, and I go live all the time. If you want to know when I go live, when a new video drops, hit the subscription button down there, as well as the notification bell to know when all of that happens. Let me know down there in the comments. What did I screw up? How robbed was Robert? Put that in the comments out of 10. 1 out of 10, 100 out of 10, really robbed, not robbed at all. How robbed was Robert? Brutally robbed, I tell you, mate. And if you are one of the members of the channel, one of the riders of the channel, you're a paying member, you're always in the comment section, you're always liking the videos, you're always chatting during the live streams, you're buying other people's memberships, you bought yourself a membership, you know who you are. You're one of the riders. I should rename it to You're One of the Bloody Legends. I'm going to rename it to You're One of the Bloody Legends. Your names are up on the next slide. Until then, I'll see you all in the next one. You guys have yourselves a great day. Goodbye.